On this mission, we will learn how to do a cold start, taxi, and takeoff, with a North American Rockwell OV10A, Bronco, of Venezuela's Air Force. The Bronco is an American twin-turboprop light attack and observation aircraft, developed in the 1960s as a multi-service airplane for counterinsurgency combat and forward air control, to be used by the U.S. Air Force, U.S. Navy, and U.S. Marines. It was produced between 1965 and 1986, 360 being built. This mission includes the following sections. Before engine start, starting engines; before taxi, taxi; before takeoff, takeoff, climb. The approximate mission time is 20 minutes. Press spacebar to begin. If the cockpit interior is too dark, activate the flashlight with left Alt plus L. If the yellow cross cursor is not visible, press left Alt plus left Shift plus C to show it. You can adjust the sound volume produced by the background air traffic by moving the in-cockpit sound slider on the DCS options audio screen, which you can access by pressing the escape key. This instructor's volume level can be adjusted with the helmet sound slider. Also, you can press spacebar to skip long voiceovers. Before engine start. Flap handle. Confirm the flaps are retracted, lever forward. The Bronco has a 4-section, slotted wing flap system. Normal extension and retraction is by hydraulic power. An electrically powered alternate system is provided for the event of hydraulic system failure. The flaps may be operated through a 40-degree range, from up to takeoff, 20 degrees, and full, 40 degrees. The flap position indicator is integral with the landing gear position indicator on the pilot's instrument panel. Yaw damper switch. Check it's off. This system smooths yaw motions, increasing the flight stability. When the aircraft is on the ground, the yaw damper is automatically disengaged. External lights master switch. Confirm it is set to external lights, so that the landing light remains off for now. Aircraft exterior lighting consists of wing and tail position lights, formation lights, anti-collision lights, and a fixed landing and taxi light. Power levers. Confirm they are on the flight idle position. The power levers control engine fuel flow and propeller RPM setting, and also allows to select reverse thrust. The lever has 4 quadrants, from aft to forward, full reverse, ground start, flight idle, unmarked, and military. Full reverse alters the propeller pitch to obtain reverse thrust, for short landings, and on the sim this quadrant is accessed by press and holding the throttle reverse key, while operating the power lever. On the real aircraft, ground start is the position of minimum propeller torque, used when starting the aircraft, while flight idle provides in-flight minimum fuel flow and torque, depending on airspeed. On the sim these two positions are merged in one, and corresponds to the minimum position of the axis assigned to the power levers. Military corresponds to the maximum position of the assigned axis. Condition levers. Check they are at the feather and fuel shutoff position. On the real aircraft, the condition levers permit selection of engine RPM bands, to cater for different flight regimes. They also allow to initiate or shut off fuel flow to the engines, and to manually feather the propellers. The levers have 4 quadrants, from aft to forward, feather and fuel shut off, normal flight, and takeoff land. On the sim the only function currently implemented for these levers, is to select between fuel shut off and normal flight. You do that simply by clicking on each lever handle. Feathering the propellers is not simulated. Generator switches. Set both to on. The Bronco's electrical system consists of 2 DC generators and 2 DC to AC inverters. Emergency DC power is supplied by 2 batteries. The generators are actually each engine starter motor, which above 50% engine RPM automatically function as a generator. Instruments power switch. Check it's off. 2 electric inverters provide 115 volts AC power for the aircraft's instruments. This switch allows selection of which inverter will provide power for the AC buses. Air start switches. Set both to auto, with guards closed. These switches control the ignition system of each engine. In their auto position, guard down, the ignition systems are armed for a ground start. The on position is used for air starting the engine. The switch must be returned to auto after a successful air start. Taken selector switch. Check it's off. The Bronco is fitted with an ARN52 Taken navigation receiver. Currently its implementation is limited, as it can only tune onto fixed ground Taken stations set to band X-ray. Windshield wiper switch. Confirm it's off. The aircraft's real switch is not yet simulated, but you can operate the wiper using a key bind. Anti-collision switch. Set to on, to alert the ground crew that the aircraft is about to start. However, the light will not work until the aircraft's electric system is powered. External light switches. As desired. Navigation lights. Set to flash or steady. Formation lights. Turn on. Taxi landing light. Let's leave it off until we are ready to taxi. Interior lights. As desired. Instruments. Flood. Increase the cockpit flood lights to suit your preference. Battery switch, set to on. Two 24-volt batteries are installed for engine starting and emergency electrical power. The on position of the battery switch connects the battery bus to the primary DC bus. In the event of a dual generator failure in flight, its emergency position will, in addition, provide power to the secondary DC bus. The Bronco is powered by two Garrett T76G turboprop engines, rated at 715 shaft horsepower. Each engine drives an 8.5-foot, 3-blade, fully reversible aluminum propeller. At military power setting, the engine RPM is 41,730, while the propellers rotate at 2,000 RPM. Either engine can be started first, but for this training we will start first the right engine. For normal starts, the desired condition lever should be at fuel shut-off, the corresponding power lever should be slightly forward of flight idle, and the corresponding starter switch is held momentarily in start. On the real aircraft, both the start and abort positions of the start switches are momentary and return to run when released. Unfortunately, this aspect is not yet modeled for DCS, so you will have to manually release the switch once the engine starts rotation. Right start switch. Set to start. Placing the switch in start initiates the engine starter operation. The propeller will begin to turn and the engine tachometer will start to climb. Right condition lever. Advance into flight at 6 to 10% RPM by clicking on the lever handle. Right start switch. Set to run, to mimic the operation of a momentary switch. Monitor the starting engine's RPM and temperature gauges. Once the engine reaches idle, set it to minimum RPM. Instruments power switch. Set to inverter number 1. The inverter 1 will run and supply power to the primary AC bus. With the right engine now fully started, we will next start the left engine. Left start switch. Set to start. Placing the switch in start initiates the left engine starter. Its propeller will begin to turn and the engine tachometer will start to climb. Left condition lever. Advance into flight at 6 to 10% RPM by clicking on its lever handle. Left start switch. Set to run, to mimic the operation of a momentary switch. Monitor the starting engine's RPM and temperature gauges. Once the engine reaches idle, set it to minimum RPM. Instruments power switch. Set to inverter number 2, to check its operation. Good, now leave it at inverter number 1. Trim, check. Set appropriate pitch trim for takeoff. For normal takeoff, use 1/2 unit of nose-up trim. For short takeoff, use 1 full unit. For this mission, set 1/2 unit. TACAN. Set as required. For this mission, tune station 32 X-ray, and set to transmit-receive mode. Flight controls. Check for full travel on both flight stick and rudder. Flaps. Check operation. Brakes. Hold, while performing the propeller reverse check. Power levers. Reverse momentarily. Press and hold the throttle reverse key, right shift plus R, at the same time increase your physical throttle axis. Note that the in-cockpit throttle levers now move onto its reverse quadrant. Release the throttle reverse key, the cockpit throttle levers now move on the flight quadrant. Release the wheel brakes once you have finished the reverse check. We will now taxi to the runway. Unfortunately, the radio is not simulated yet, so we can't ask air traffic control for clearance. Use the F10 view to check if there is other taxi traffic nearby. Switch the taxi landing light on. Next, increase throttle and release brakes. The aircraft will begin to move forward. Press the wheel brakes to stop and check their operation. Good, the wheel brakes are working. You will need to steer the aircraft using those wheel brakes, as the Bronco is not equipped with nose wheel steering. Release the brakes and begin the taxi again. Taxi straight, and upon reaching the taxiway, turn to the left by slightly pressing the left wheel brake. Once the aircraft is on mid-turn, press opposite wheel brake to straighten it out. You are going the wrong way, turn 180 degrees. Taxi on a 40-degree heading, towards the start of runway 22. You are now on the taxiway. Strive to keep the aircraft centered over the yellow taxi line. This will serve you to practice your wheel brake steering ability. Note that starting at 25 to 30 knots, the rudder begins to have yaw authority, so that you may then steer using rudder pedals alone, without toe braking. No speeding on the taxiway. Keep the speed to no more than 40 knots. On the next intersection, turn the aircraft to the right, towards the start of runway 22. Stop the aircraft just short of runway 22. Good. On this position we would normally call up air traffic control, but as we currently don't have a working radio, you can use F10 to check on nearby air traffic. If no other aircrafts are near, enter the runway, align with its centerline and stop there. Before takeoff. Flaps, as desired. For this mission, use half flaps. Condition levers. Advance to its maximum position, takeoff, land. This action currently has no simulated effect on DCS. Takeoff. Hold wheel brakes. Advance throttle to maximum, check engine instruments and then release brakes. Maintain the aircraft on the center line, using rudder. At 100 knots, pull back on the flight stick to rotate attitude. Lift off. Adjust pitch trim to 10 degrees nose up. Once airborne, retract landing gear. Above 110 knots, retract flaps. Ensure both are fully retracted before exceeding 160 knots. Maintain the runway heading and climb to 3,000 feet. Yaw damper switch. Set to on, if desired. Switch the taxi landing light off. Condition levers. Move back into normal flight, once above 1,000 feet AGL. You have reached 3,000 feet, congratulations, you have successfully completed this training mission. Press spacebar to exit the training.